watch us from home. Today, in Phonetics and Language Talk Show, we will have a very interesting talk about what is regressive assimilation. We will discuss what it consists of and how it is used in everyday language. Also, we will present you a few examples to make it easy and understandable for anyone of any age. Dalia, Ivan, and Jorge are our special guests on today's show. So, let's start by making clear the basis of what will be today's topic. What is assimilation?
Hello, good afternoon everyone. So to start, it's important to mention that assimilation is a general term in phonetics for the process by which speech sounds become similar or quite identical to a neighboring sound. So in addition, assimilation may be partial or total.
Yes, and also it's easy to recognize the term assimilation because it comes from the Latin that has a meaning that is make similar to. And assimilation can be known as the influence of a sound that becomes similar or the same.
And to clarify what they just said, assimilation happens when two sounds, you could say, melt to give us another sound as a result, as if there was a fusion happening. And this situation can happen within a word or between two. This with their last and first letters.
Okay, I think I understood what assimilation is about, but I feel like I don't quite understand it at 100%. Could you give me some examples for me and the audience?
Of course, for example, in the phrase 10 bikes, the colloquial speech would be 10 bikes. So in this case, assimilation has been partial. And why? Because N sound has fallen under the influence of the B, and that's why become with M. That's why it's 10 bikes and not 10 bikes.
Yes, and other examples of this can occur either within a word or between words. In this case, it could be applied in rapid speech. For example, handbag, that is pronounced handbag and not handbag. And it could be the same case of hot potato.
And another example could be, and just with two words, just you, in which can be pronounced as just you, due to the assimilation, because in this case the last T in just tends to become soundless, justifying this new sound between the two words and because of being next to the Y in you. So instead of saying just you, for some more fluent, we pronounce just you, in which in this case the T is silent.
I see. It's very interesting, and I appreciate that you used common examples that are easy for everyone to understand, like just you and 10 bikes. Now, let's start moving to the main topic of today's show by asking an introductory question that will get us more context about what we will talk about. Why is it important to know the concept of assimilation before talking about regressive assimilation?
Because by checking this concept first, we can have an introduction to this linguistic and phonetics manner, so we can get ready to process and know what to expect from the upcoming information. Being these two themes linked, as we can already tell by their names, and we will be able to notice what aspects may differ between one and the other.
Yes, as my partner mentioned, it's important to know firstly what assimilation is about, to introduce the main topic of this conversation, of course, that is regressive assimilation, because they are linked between them.
And yes, it's important to know the concept, maybe to have a clear idea or maybe a pre-idea about what we're going to see and not start learning a new concepts without having any kind of knowledge of the topic.
After that explanation given by our guest, we will now enter to the main topic of tonight's show. what is regressive assimilation?
Well, in this case, it's a kind of assimilation in which a following sound has an effect on preceding one. As in pronouncing the word have in have to, it's just have. We don't mention the T in to, have to, as is known as an anticipatory assimilation.
And it is necessary to mention that regressive assimilation happens when a following sound in a word influences the preceding sound. And it is also important to mention that in the case of vowels, they become more similar to the sound that follows.
I agree with my partners, and also regressive assimilation is a form of pronunciation in which a word final alveolar sound takes the place of a following labial or velar sound.
And now, please, can you give me some examples of regressive assimilation and how can be used in real life to make it clear?
Actually, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a few examples of regressive assimilation. It's the case of handbag, that the word is written handbag, but is pronounced handbag. It's the same case for the word hot potato. It's hot potato. And as in those two examples, sound segments are typically assimilated to a following sound, and that is why it's called regressive, or in this case, anticipatory assimilation. That is the same thing.
Another example could be the word cam, C-A-M, in which because the last letter is a nasal sound, is the M or M, it can be omitted to adapt the vowel A that preceded. So even without the last letter, it will still sound the same. So we have K with an emphasis in the to make the regressive assimilation. And this is pretty common in our day by day because it has to do with our pronunciation and intonation while speaking. And we often use them without noticing. And it can be quite difficult to identify them in the moment.
So another common example is boat that is pronounced boat, where the sound has fallen under the influence of the letter B and coming in M, so that's why it's boat and not boat.
Thank you very much. And finally, as the last point for today's show, I would like to know, what do you think about what we talked today?
Of course, I think this conversation has been very enriching, not only for the people who are watching this program, but also for us because this topic helps us to get more important information about this.
And I'd like to mention that these topics are useful while learning the English language, along with phonetics due to the pronunciation issue. So we can find a way to sound more natural and also to be able to look for improvement in our speaking skill. They might be hard to use properly, but they surely increase the language performance.
And as a final comment, I think it's important to note about these concepts and these topics too, because it can be helpful for students that maybe try to develop important skills at the moment of talking or pronouncing some words. And other case of importance could be on the teachers that can teach those concepts to the others and make their English more fluent and natural.
And that will be all for today. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Don't forget to watch next week's show, in which we will talk about the other type of assimilation. Good night, everyone.